Welcome back. We're going to cover fraud here. It is one thing to steal from our state. It's another thing to steal $1 million meant to pay for somebody's health care and still potentially just get probation. Well, that's not going to happen anymore because Minnesota's new sentencing guidelines now make prison the expected punishment for seven-figure Medicaid fraud, even if they're a first-time offender. Here's Lou.
How much of that money are you going to be able to pay back?
Seeing fraud suspects walk free even after they're found guilty of defrauding Minnesota's Medicaid programs
Are you able to comment on
is frustrating for Minnesotans to see.
Okay.
But a new law, combined with a change with Minnesota's sentencing guidelines, promises to put more fraudsters in prison.
So if you steal more than $1 million, it doesn't matter if you've been in trouble or not. You are going to be facing prison time.
Medicaid fraud suspects are prosecuted in both federal court by the U.S. Attorney's Office and in state court by the Attorney General Office's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. Many of the major cases, like Feeding Our Future, have gone through federal court, resulting in sentences as high as 40 years in prison. But for Medicaid fraud cases that go through state court, Governor Walz agreed when asked by KARE 11 that the penalties needed to be stiffer.
Does Minnesota need to increase penalties? Currently, you can steal millions of dollars in Medicaid, and it's the same sentence as walking in Target and stealing TV.
They get viewed as victimless crimes or something. They are not victimless crimes. So I do think that. I'll go back to the legislature again. I think that would be something that Republicans would definitely agree with us on.
The legislature passed the MAP Act, which gives the AG's office more fraud investigators and creates different tiers for fraud cases depending on how much money they steal. Minnesota judges have to follow this grid when sentencing someone, matching their criminal history to the so-called severity level of the crime. At Attorney General Keith Ellison's urging, the commission that makes this grid set a $1 million Medicaid fraud offense at severity 8, which calls for 48 months in prison, instead of severity 7, which would have been just 36 months probation.
And if you steal $1 million from a public program for poor people, you should be looking at the loss of your liberty for that.
Lou Ragoose, KARE 11 News.
Yeah, something most people could agree on. The next major fraud case to be sentenced in our state court will be the organizer of Operation Pit Stop. That's a Faribault-based fraud scheme, and that person will learn her fate in October. I'll be right back.